Welcome to Wisdom to Wealth. Thank you all for joining us today. We're here with another episode with Matt Warzel today, and he's going to actually walk us through his journey from his path from health to wealth, health and wealth, I should say. But we'll go a little bit more details when we get into his bio. But I am Shamar Star Cox. I am the head of this podcast. I am a TV producer and a marketing coach. My goal is to help business owners and coaches create binge-worthy content so that you can attract your followers and then convert them into customers. My goal is also to help you to increase your visibility online so that you're also increasing your profitability online. I'm the founder of the Convert Content to Cash Challenge, where you can learn how to create content that sells. So if you are a business owner, if you are a coach, if you are an entrepreneur, you want to learn how to use videos in a way that's going to be able to attract your customers to your page so that you can be able to sell, feel free to DM the word challenge accepted, and I will personally send you an invite. And so now, as I said, we have Matt Warzel with us. He is a CPRW, is certified resume writing expert and career coach with over 20 years in human resources and career advancement techniques. He helps clients build their career paths or navigate their career journeys and fashions LinkedIn profiles and resumes, helping them to stand out. Matt and MJW Careers, that's his own business. They have been featured in media and publications that include Fortune, Forbes, Money, US News, and if I kept on going on, that would be the entire podcast. So I have to stop right there. Welcome, Matt.
Thank you, Star. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. And I appreciate your audience and their ears as well today. So everyone, I hope there's some nuggets here we can provide while I'm boasting about my success. No, I wish I was at the the highest of the kingdoms right now looking down. But no, it's a grind every day, right? So even when you feel like you got things working, things start to fall off on other spots. So you got to kind of start troubleshooting, right? So business ownership, it's not for the weary, but I wouldn't trade it for anything at this point. Been doing it for 15 years. So hopefully within this conversation, though, having some career coaching guidance, some of the listeners may be able to help out with their careers, right? So maybe we can lean into some of that too and give them a little bit of best practices, if you will. So, but thank you so much for having me, and I promise it won't be boring, at least, right? It can't be with this annoying voice I have.
I mean, it won't be boring because you're a comedian, so I know you're going to make us laugh the entire time. But one thing you just said just now in your intro was business ownership is not for the weary. And you said, you wish that you were at the highest kingdom, but in business ownership, there's going to be ups and downs. So we actually want to hear your journey. Take us on your journey from zero to where you are now. We want to hear exactly what it is that you went through in order for you to build your success.
Well, thank you for that. Yeah. So essentially, I should start with, post college, I stumbled into HR, as many of us do. Not a lot of people are clamoring at the gates saying, "Hey, I want to be in this HR business. Let me in." It's usually, "Hey, I kind of backed my way into this. How the heck did I get in here?" So anybody out there in HR, you probably know that. And I started off as a recruiter, and I enjoyed it. It was emotional, but it was fun and it was rewarding. I started off as staffing recruiter, which is extremely high energy, kind of a camaraderie. I don't want to say boys club because all genders, but it had that rah feeling. So great experience, but it wore me down. Staffing is very much it's super high pace. It's a lot more high pace than HR internal recruiting, right? So I got out of staffing and got into HR internal recruiting because it was just better for me. And I liked having customers as internal employees that I can kind of make relationships with versus, kind of constantly going out and trying to sell me as a, recruiting service to any company in the area, right? So I enjoyed being able to build relationships with internal employees. So anyway, the boring stuff, got through that, but then I got laid off. I got hit with the '08 meltdown. At that point, I was recruiting for Johnson Controls, which is HVAC out in LA. Had relocated from Cleveland to LA for that job. But in the background, I was also trying to be a star. I was surprised when I got there weren't, a bunch of people waiting for me with all sorts of, sides and contracts. So I get there, recruiting that day. in the daytime. And luckily, with my recruiting job, I had to go speak with the youngsters in LA County to talk about HVAC and how they should stick with it because they can't outsource it and use our equipment and get good at it. And we'll hire you when you graduate. So it was a really cool program I was in charge of for the West Coast. So allowed me to go out into the field constantly. And so I would parlay days at these colleges on days I get auditions. I'm like, oh, okay, I'll just go to see, it's by Anaheim. Okay, I'll just bop over to Anaheim. So that worked. My boss ended up finding out my website and he was not too happy about it, but that was a whole nother story, but I just was playing dumb. No, I don't do any of this at work. and then again, I don't think that had any effect on me getting laid off, but who knows? But at the same time, a bunch of us got laid off, across the country at Johnson Controls, recruiters, and they kind of folded up this future hires program and kept everybody in house in Wisconsin. So, and I was one of the more higher paid recruiters in the country because I was in LA. And so again, they don't care when they see line items, they don't care what city it's coming from. They just see the numbers. And so I was let go, devastated, overweight, 100 pounds heavier, wasn't going to church, didn't have any friends out there, just me and my wife taking on the world. And it's a high stress area, especially if someone coming from Cleveland that drives 100 miles an hour everywhere. I had to bulk up my driving skills. I thought I was good coming in, and I really had to show LA how to drive. So I was there showing everybody how to drive every day and just caused innate stress, subconscious stuff building up. And it was February 7th, 2009. I just had this mental collapse. I just remember it. I couldn't remember my name. I was running around in circles. Couldn't remember my wife's name. And it was just, kind of a long time coming, because based off of just little feelings, but then it just hit me. So at that point I was down and low and didn't know what the hell I was going to do. Daunted by the thought of where am I going to go with my career? Am I going to make it in this Hollywood thing? And so I had a buddy that he was my best man for my wedding. He's like, come live in Wilmington. And we didn't even know what that was at the time. And he's like, they shoot movies here. They got Dawson's Creek they had there, and they were doing One Tree Hill at the time. And I was like, hey, that works, whatever. We just need to be around movies still. And we didn't want to go back to Cleveland or Pittsburgh. So we got on a plane, flew, hung out for a week and looked at apartments thinking this is going to be it anyway. So might as well just, start making it productive. And then we got back to LA and we're like, yeah, that'll work. So then our lease ended in July and we headed out. So I got laid off April to July. March to July. February I got laid off. She got laid off in March. July we got out of there. So literally, boom, we were transitioning like that after 3 years in LA. And I just remember, I turned to booze. That was kind of my thing, just to not overthink. I just, I'd have beers. And so that kind of, again, carried over 4 years. But within those 4 years, it was heavy anxiety, just slowly kind of going. Now I get it now. Still, some days, or it's way more manageable. I don't have panic. I probably had one panic attack in a whole year, and sometimes just from overthinking and my 6-year-old getting me to a level of stress. But it's really much more manageable, especially if I'm not doing the right thing. It kicks in, so it's almost like a little internal angel, if you will, at this point. Yeah, it was. To the point where I had to reshift my mental focus and my just lifestyle, and started going out with my friend and his group of friends who became my friends, and my wife and I. So we had people now. We went back to church, and I became a Eucharistic minister, which I was in high school. So I went back to doing that. Became a Knight of Columbus and doing my volunteering stuff, and then having kids and having this business. And right now there is a lot, obviously, to manage, with just running a business. And then I started a real estate company a few years ago with my another business partner. And, that's doing its thing. And then acting, whenever I can get an audition from the gods of the arts that deem me worthy of an audition, it's such a crapshoot. And so I do hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of auditions. And, I've cracked the nut. Maybe I think it's 11 times I've been on a studio set. So you can see my IMDb page, and it's all, I don't do background. It's all talking
Mhm, mhm,
lines because I put tens and tens of thousands of dollars into this career
mhm, mhm,
for like
mhm.
15 years trying to get it to go. So between all of these things I'm doing, I'm finding that if I don't keep a balance and do my meditation, I'm going to work out after this,
Yep,
right? Like
yep.
doing these things to like keep a mental focus and
Mhm,
a mental kind of an ownership of myself. It can get out of hand, right? So and those feelings of anxiety can creep sometimes. So I try to make sure I have a balance, right? And keep my balance and not get so stressed when it's imbalanced.
mhm,
That's the biggest thing. I
mhm.
can cause my own stress. Sometimes my kid helps me, but then I can't let things go very easily. That's like my biggest crutch is being able to just let it go. I gotta go out and walk around and kind of really get out of my head. So I'm learning that patience obviously is not my best virtue, but I am finding that with my kids, it's helped me a lot try to control the outbursts or getting impatient or because I'm from Cleveland and we have it known if we don't like what we're eating or whatever, everyone's gonna hear it. And so I'm trying to get away from just that being acceptable and like, hey, we're just Clevelanders and Chicagoers, it's how we are. In New York, like we're allowed to be obnoxious. It's like, no, like I'm trying to really be a better example for my kids.
Mhm,
It's a
mhm.
living day-to-day thing of improvement. So that's my kind of the macro level me of my juggling of multiple things going on, but I love it. I thrive in it because it's so much fun.
I love that you shared your journey, right? Because it wasn't like a typical journey of like, oh, I'm waking up and I want to be an entrepreneur and I'm just going to do that for the rest of my life. Like you were living life throughout this entire journey. And then you talked about just the negative things you turned to help you to cope with the anxiety. There was drinking, there was overeating,
Mhm.
this you had this heavy stress, this heavy anxiety. And then when you made your transition, into really focusing on being an entrepreneur, moving to Wilmington, there became a shift. It was like, okay, well, now what I'm going to use to help me to cope is family, is church, I'm taking care of myself. And you were able to really land on this health journey that helps you to have a clearer mind, that helps you to be more patient and present. And now you have this success. And of course, we all want more of that success. But I just love that. I love that you have two paths that you went down because I think oftentimes as entrepreneurs, we think that it's supposed to be perfect, especially in the social media world. It can look like it's perfect and no one's going through anything. But here you are just sharing with us, like, no, I had a roller coaster ride. Like, I fell into recruiting. And then when I went into recruiting, I also wanted to be an actor. Like, how many people who are watching now, you have more than one desire. You don't just have one desire of, I'm just going to be a business owner. Like, some of you, you have multiple desires, you have multiple passions. And here's Matt talking about how he had multiple passions too, and he was pursuing them, and he was pouring money into it, pouring his energy into it, but then having to come to a point that's like, I have to choose one or the other just for now in the season. It's not like you let go of acting altogether. It's
Right.
just for one over the other right now in this season. The word says that there's a season for everything under the sun. And right now is a season for your business. And I just truly believe there's going to be a season for your acting. Like your business will take off and then you'll be able to just fully focus on your acting. But I just love how real your story is because it's not sugar coated. It's like, no, yeah, I went through this. I was in the middle of the street crying, and some days I'm blowing up on some days, right? But here you are now, calm, funny, amazing, totally yourself. So thank you so much for sharing your health and your wealth journey. So I want to ask you this. What do you feel is your biggest blind spot right now when it comes to getting to the next level in your business? And how are you addressing it?
That's great. I will say twofold. One with real estate, it's learning the nuances of managing tenants and doing a rehab, which I'm starting my first rehab project on Thursday. So that's going to be entertaining being there all day, Thursday, Friday, managing contractors and managing timelines. So I think first, just lack of what I don't know, right? Lack of knowledge. And how I'm going to do it is by getting in there, doing it, learning, having probably a couple things not go their way, having a day or whatever, a few days where they're not working, having a few times where I'm overspending when I wasn't supposed. So I'm eating all that up as learning lessons because nothing is perfect, but we all know what real estate does and what it is. And so I'm so happy I got into it. And This will be my third investment property. And again, taking some of my liquidity and to buy these assets is nerve wracking and daunting, because you see numbers and then you see different numbers and you're like, is this really going to work? But just knowing that, hey, keep moving forward. You're doing things that your 55-year-old, 65-year-old self's going to go, oh, aren't you glad you took that risk? Because now this thing's worth, 50,000
Right.
more or whatever, right? So, or 100 grand more, right? So those kind of long-term thinking of like, man, maybe I can, get some back end money when I'm old and I don't feel like working as hard anymore. And this is I'm going to start kind of planting these seeds. So that part. And then for MJW, my whole thing has just been scaling. It's like, so with business, like anything, you tend to it like a garden. And sometimes when you don't tend to it, it can, get some growth, overgrowth, and weeds. And you got to start playing catch up, right? So, and there are times where I've done that because maybe it's the summer or we're going on vacation and I'm with my family. So I'm just going to go whatever. And so, and that's okay. But then it might snowball into the next month. And all of a sudden 3 months goes by and all I've done was put my content out and handle my emails and handle my sales calls, but I didn't do anything for long-term MJW, right? So I am really, trying to stick to itness with my schedule. Here it is Mondays, you're going to work on, right now, my whole thing is working on the B2C level, right? So, or B2B, because I've been B2C my whole life, some B2B without placement, but never quite got it going. So now my whole focus for next year is just working with local HR teams and local whatever to help with leadership development, LinkedIn profiles and stuff like that to really get more of that arm going. So scaling has been my biggest thing, because right when I catch growth and I get some people on the team to help and stuff, things start, leads will change because LinkedIn changes their pro finder, or, Google kicks me off for the month, which has happened many times. I'm like, Google, how many times I got to verify? I've got 120 recommendations. I'm a legit business. And it's like, so that'll take you, off of your business page for a month. And then you're like, well, I hope people still find me. So just technology woes will battle me to the point where it will make me want to have a bourbon. But I'm like, guys, can we not change things that are perfectly fine? They got to keep jobs, right? So we got to do stuff. We got to, keep them working, change this up. And it drives me nuts. But anyway, so technology, scaling, those two, I think, I don't know if you asked for 3 things, but anyway, those are my, my main kind of pain points, if you will, of the business.
Yeah, I love that you share that. And I love that you have a routine, right? You talk about this routine, but then you also mentioned in this routine that it's not long term, right? So you have your everyday tasks that you work on as a business owner. And yes, it brings in money. Yes, it helps to sustain the brand. But then you recognize I want to scale and I want to be able to build something that's going to last long term. And that is a blind spot. And I love that you shared that, because even business owners who are just starting out have that. And for some of them, they have this pressure that they have to know everything right now in this moment. But you're letting us know, you're showing us like, look, I'm an experienced business owner. I've been in this business for 15 years. And even I have blind spots, right? But that hasn't hindered you from accumulating your wealth. That hasn't hindered you from building the life that you desire. So I really love that you shared that. I want to share this with you. Precious had written a she wrote something, she wrote a comment based on what you shared previously. So I wanted to share it on the screen and read it out loud to you so that you can hear it. She said, Matthew, I appreciate you being transparent. A lot of entrepreneurs do not share the realness of entrepreneurship, i.e., anxiety, giving over to our food or drink. We have to have more. We have to move when we're down, right? Oh, excuse me, how we have to move when we're down. And I feel like that's what makes this episode so real, because it's not just all the glitz and the glam of, yeah, okay, well, I made money this month, right? It's like, no, when I was starting up, it was a lot. It was a lot of pressure. And I built the success and still had the pressure because I burnt out. And my body, after years of feeling this stress and anxiety, just completely gave up. And then, but at least now you're in a space where it's like, I know how to manage it, right? So we get to a point, it doesn't go away. We just get to a point that we know how to manage it. So I love that. And then sharing your blind spot, you're just even showing even more now. It really doesn't matter how much wealth and success you have. you're still going to have challenges and struggles as a business owner. But what are you going to do about that? So I love that. Did you want to comment back to Precious?
Yeah, well, and thank you, Precious. That was very nice of you to share that welcoming comment. And I'm all for transparency. I've always been an advocate of mental health, and I use it for my clients a lot. So it helps that having been through the proverbial ringer to share that with some of these folks that I've had clients crying, because these are livelihoods important stuff, right? We're doing this 40 hours a week for strangers, and most of the time, half the people don't even like what they're doing, and it's like those are the people I really want to help because my mantra for my clients is, opportunity over availability. Let's go create where you want to work and manifest that by reverse engineering the most we can control from a job hunting standpoint, whether it's the sales sheets or the application submissions, the cold outreach, the whatever, the stick to itness of a calendar of keep going at that particular company and whoever's there, social stalking some of the people online and commenting and sharing and engaging and the hard work of networking and who but that's where if you want to work at ABC and you're going to work your buns off to get in there, and eventually you do, now you come to fruition of like, this is where I wanted to be. I love this company and this camaraderie, et cetera. Versus, it's November 4th. I took this job. It was down the street. I had an illness. I needed it. And now I hate myself. And so we don't understand. It's like our livelihoods are so much. I mean, they're just a little blip of our life, but they're so important, and it takes so much headspace for us, especially if we're unemployed or not making enough money. Now it brings it home to the kids, and you're not fully into the playing. You're not fully engaged because you're just sitting there worried. That's the people where I'm like, we can control this. This isn't. I get it. Major things in life: buying a car, buying a house, getting a job. They want us to make split-second decisions versus I got to go open my yard. I'm going to go and vet 5 landscapers, get quotes, take about three weeks to finally get one person to come and cut leaves. That's like, no. A society, if I'm going to buy a house, if you're not comfortable moving within 24 hours with $300,000 of cash being moved around, then just walk away from the deal, right? If it's a car that's the last one on the lot and blah, 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 well, then maybe go find a used if they're trying to gouge you $50,000 for a car. You don't have to have that pressure, right? Just like the job. If it's like, if you can control what you can control and you work really well at it and you work on finding the opportunities and creating those opportunities versus, again, availability, I feel like you'll be just much more harmonious in your day-to-day, and you'll feel like you're getting more out of what you're putting in for those 40 hours. So that's kind of like a long answer of like, yeah, hey, I'd be transparent and help those people, because if they're crying on the phone to me or they're very worried because their spouse got laid off too and now they're whatever, these are the stories I'll share to them and be like, hey, we can do this. In fact, I've been through some of this stuff emotionally and mentally, and here's ways we can kind of combat it, right? So I love process. I love clear-minded strategic planning, tangible things you can do with your computer every day for job hunting versus reading fluff stuff and trying to interpret it and how can I do this stuff now. I don't do my program is just read and react and move forward through the 6 weeks. And by the end of the 6 weeks, you're going to have a fully fleshed out job hunting calendar with activities that are relatable to you and your world of what you're doing. And then you can go DIY the job hunt, but you won't be a chicken with your head cut off, blank canvas every Monday, daunted at looking at your computer going, what do I do now? I went to Indeed. I went to LinkedIn. Now I'm done. It's like, well, no, because the people getting jobs are doing a bunch of other stuff and getting creative. Because there's too much good talent on the bench right now. There's a lot of good people not working, and you're competing against them. Riches are in the niches. So don't be general, be niche, do something really well, and then show them that you're a brand expert in that particular function. And you'll have way better success with interviewing, getting leads, getting recruiters want to help you, et cetera.
I love that. What's so interesting that you are a career expert and you're helping people with their careers. And yet some of the things you were sharing is exactly what we do in marketing. Like you are more rich when you niche down. You have to, because if you try to talk to everyone, you're actually talking to no one. So I really love that you shared that. And it's actually a really good transition, because I know you already started to share with us some of the things that you do with your clients to help them to be successful. But I would love to know, what are like 3 key points that you walk your audience through so that they can go from job to job, like whether they're transitioning or let's say they want to get promoted? Because I know that you have moved into working with executive level people as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and the internal promotion stuff is a different bag altogether. With that though, I will keep it very simple. If you're an employee right now who wants a promotion, document everything. all of your successes, all of your compliments. If you get an email, if you think it's casual, but they're saying thanks for supporting it, whatever, document all of it. And then don't just like include it in a folder or something. You got to translate that into a line item on your resume. And that's what I get paid for, is my ability to command the English language. How do I write a nurse that makes her sell herself as a nurse? I just got off of my new client today I got is a nurse. And I said, you're not nursing right now. You're a salesperson selling your skills for the next weeks.
Yes.
So get over the idea that, I don't know how to, sell myself because I was never having to. Well, nowadays you essentially have to, because now we're all branders and everyone's in a brand.
Yep.
So, again, just from a three-pronged standpoint, I will say, for the job seeker, my big three things are, let me cap that. So document everything. And then when you go in for the negotiation or when you go to talk to your manager, bring out all this cool stuff, but then have a game plan ready for your next role of what you're trying to do and what you're going to do in that role. So then kind of have a vision, right? So what you've done, the proofs in the pudding stuff, here's the vision for this next job. And what do you need to know now to fill in those gaps to make me a viable candidate? Okay. That's the internal. The external, people job hunting, three things I would say. First is the sales sheet, right? So get the marketing document that is your resume. I'll go as quick as possible for all this. So the three buckets of content you should be focusing on are what's relatable. If you want to be a data engineer, go look at a bunch of data engineer jobs, highlight all the stuff that kind of sounds the same throughout them all, and reverse engineer those things in your resume and put a little cap on it. Yes, I can do data visualization and produce recommendation reporting to stakeholders. Okay, well, all data engineers can. In fact, here's a specific example how I got a report to the stakeholders, and they used it, and they saved 30% last year. Okay, now that sounds better because that's customized.
That's
right? ChatGPT can make that line. ChatGPT can make the data engineering lines all stock stuff. Have fun. I love these people using it. Have fun, because it ain't working as well as you think. These recruiters are savvy, and they're bored of stock lines, because we've seen stock lines since the dawn. I've been writing stock lines since 2008. But essentially, customize what's relatable and highlight the stuff you can do. And then here's a trick too: highlight the stuff you can't do on a data engineering jobs, and then go upskill. That's your upskilling stuff, right? So now you have opportunities to figure out what you're missing, start plugging those holes. So relatability. Second bucket for resumes is operational. Give me the metrics: time, money, efficiency, productivity, cutting costs, whatever, head counts, year over year, anything that's apropos for your world that would make sense from a metric standpoint. And if you don't have numbers, just massage the words so it still shows the impact without necessarily having a number. And then the third bucket is anything unique. So high profile clients, speeches, awards, you were in Olympics, you volunteered, whatever. Put all that into a resume, and then write the least amount of words as possible with these three buckets of content, and keep it cause and effect. Did this, here's the outcome. Did that, here's the outcome. And now everybody in this hiring committee, that is the hiring process, the hierarchy, can understand it. The recruiter who's not a data engineer at all, who's just a marketing major who knows how to recruit data engineers, can understand it. The sourcer who's helping a recruiter, the AI, the robots who are just filling in buzzwords half the time. And then you got the nerds and the hiring managers, right? The nerd hiring manager audience that you're trying to get into to then geek it out with them. Don't geek it out on over here, because I'm not going to understand what the hell you're saying when using these acronyms and all this stuff. There's a time and place on it for on the resume. Keep it in those sections where it needs to go, not where they're reading it like how they're supposed to be, which is a storytelling. It's kind of a storytelling sales sheet now of why you are very good at being a data engineer, being a supply chain manager, being a whatever, right? The more niche, the better. So if you're a data engineer, but you're only working within what is it, Python or one of these kind of things, R, Azure, whatever, you're only wanting to do cloud. Okay, well then just focus on data engineering cloud stuff, not all the generic data engineering stuff, that other one, right? So riches and niches. That's the first thing. You need a sales sheet. You need to brand yourself so you are telling them what you want to be perceived as. You're not letting them pigeonhole you anymore. Here, Mr. Me, I hear this all the time. I sent the resume. I was a good fit. I don't know why I get interviewed. Yeah, because your resume is a jack of all trades. Here's everything I've done, and I submitted it, and they probably couldn't figure out the things that related to them because they were buried between other garbage, right? So the break out the yous, make the variations of you. This is how we're going in the future anyway. The future is what they say. Everyone's going to have three different variations of themselves in the future. No one's going to have one 50-year career goal watch type thing, because that stuff's kind of done now, right? So everyone's going to have three journeys of their life, they said. And it's like, that makes more sense to me, right? Because now there's too many people that are doing one thing really well. So how are you going to compete with them if you're putting a bunch of just general stuff, right? So marketing sheet, relate it. Second thing is going to be I would probably say the job hunting itself. A lot of people, like I said, daunted on a Monday. You need to use software that's out there right now that helps automate some things. I'm not a big advocate of this blasting application things. I guess that's kind of getting a little heat too, a little pushback by some of the people. I don't know. Again, there's not one all answer because everyone hires differently. Everyone uses different applicant tracking system, different rules, right? Everyone has different personalities as part of their team. So I will just say this: what you can control and be as pragmatic and walk softly, carry big stick mentality as you can. No one owes you anything, and you're not going in there too heavy, hot, upset, excited, whatever. You're just going to go in there and tell them why you are going to make their life easier if they hired you. And here's how. And we're gonna have this discussion over the next hour about why I'm valuable for this particular job. And again, why I'll make your life easier. And you're using the resume as a crutch, right? Essentially. So you're looking at this resume. Here's all these neat things that relate to this job, cause and effect, so they can understand it. And then they're going to go, tell me about your data visualization. Oh, you know what, Mr. and Mrs. Manager? In fact, I can do that. Look at line item 3, my data visualization project win. Let's get into it, because I only told you cause and effect. I didn't tell you the middle stuff. I tell them, when you give the resume to the hiring manager, it's like a meal. They eat it up. They love it. Then they'll bring you into the interview to talk about the ingredients. Now it's time to kiss the chef. So don't put the ingredients on the resume, because you won't have enough time, right? So again, less is more. Be very mindful of their time and what they're trying to get out of this. And all they're trying to do is figure out if you're the right fit, right? So here's how you're going to back it up. So that would be like the second thing, right? The job hunting itself. You got to do things that are outside the box and use recruiters, right? We're going to use recruiters and have them do things in the background as well, right? Because it's all working out while I'm doing my day to day. People are trying to help me in the back, and technology, right? Then the third thing is interviewing / negotiations, and that's where that, like I just mentioned, that's that kind of making sure you know yourself, your abilities, your expertise for this particular role. And here's how you're going to back it up, is using that resume. I would say the big 3 for interviewing is, 1, knowing your resume inside and out, because you're going to get some quirky recruiters that want to go through each line item. I've been through that. And you're like, okay. And then the second thing is making sure the job description, if you go through it, I would take a pen and I would say, here's line item 1 on the job description. I'm going to put that pen, I'm going to mark it where it goes on my resume. Which win on my resume talks about that. Okay, number 2, which win? And if they don't have them on there, now it's a way to get it on your resume, right? Or at least in some sort of note. So in the interview, you make sure you bring it up. So that's the second thing, right? Making sure you master the job description and how you can relate each accomplishment to each line item. And don't repeat the same win. Do not do the same project unless you're giving a different aspect of that project. Otherwise, let sleeping dogs lie and don't beat a dead horse. I love using animal analogies. And then finally, for the interview, go to their page, look at their missions, values, vision statements, whatever. Go on there. And then when you see what their belief is or what their culture is or their core principles, whatever they call them on their website, if they ask you, what do you know about us? Weave that in. Unless, of course, you've got a really good juicy thing like a news piece that you just can't wait to tell them that how you know about it. But if you're kind of going in there like, oh crap, just look at their visions and tie a question, tie that into your answer. If they don't ask you, what do you know about us? At the end, they'll ask you if you have any questions. And yes, you always do, because you want them talking. You want them talking about themselves or the company, because they love doing that. Make it about them when you're talking about questions. But when they ask you that, yeah, I looked on the website, saw your mission is A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and I'm a big advocate of A, B, C, D, E, F, G when I'm actually in my position. In fact, the last job, I implemented a lot of those principles for my teammates to kind of lean on, what does that look like for this person, this job at your company? What is what's that kind of that mission look like in action? And, things like that, where they're like, oh, that's a pretty good question. But you want them talking about themselves, because it strokes more of their ego, and they don't, they'd rather hear them talk than you at that end, right? So now is their chance to talk about the great company they're at, or, what my journey has been working here. So that'd be like the third thing is, again, knowing that the principal mission kind of thing. And then if you want to do bonus points, if you can find the hiring manager on LinkedIn beforehand, go on there, comb through it, and find relatability points to maybe mention, just to get a little bit more buttered up, but without sounding corny either. I try to really weave it in very, very much a nice little way. But that'd be like the big kind of 3, 4, if you will, of a cradle to grave job hunting. You can't just have the shiny object, and you can't just have the profile on LinkedIn land sitting there. Yeah, it's a great sandbox. Everyone has the toys you want to play with, and you're going to be in there playing with them. But then you expect them to keep bringing toys to you all the time. Where's everybody going?
Okay. Yes.
You got to bring toys too, right? So don't let it just sit there and collect dust. Use the darn thing. And there's a ton of strategy you can do every day on LinkedIn, just given the amount of features they've implemented.
I love it. That was an entire masterclass in like 10 minutes. So we have to give it up to you. I was like, oh, he's giving a whole rundown. So if anybody want to know how to get a job in 10 minutes, that's it right there. And there were some things that you shared that, go ahead.
I'll just say you can tell my passion for this stuff. I've been doing it for so long. But the thing is, you can tell people that, but like I said, when they go to try DIYing this stuff, it gets daunting, right? Because they're like, so that's why you have us to even keel. Monday do this, Tuesday do that, Wednesday do this. Just keep it even keel.
It can be overwhelming trying to do it on your own. A lot of the things that you shared is also things that business owners have to go through. Like one thing that you shared, you said everyone's a brander, right? And I remember this was years ago. Oprah Winfrey was talking about branding. A young person had asked her, like, how do I build my personal brand? And she was like, brand, like no one even knows you yet. You're not even established yet. Like you don't need that. Right now, this was years ago when personal brands wasn't as big as it is now. But as I'm hearing you speak, everyone needs to have their own personal brand, whether you're looking for a job or you are a business owner. It's super important. You talked about the resume being your marketing sheet, right? Like every business owner needs to have their own marketing, because without that, no one knows you, right? And I always tell my business owners, marketing is the lifeline of your business. If you have a great product, if you have a great set of skill sets, and no one knows about you, will they buy? Absolutely not. So I just love that. And then even with the nurse, you said to the nurse, don't just focus on being a nurse now. You have been upgraded to being a seller. Like these are all skill sets that business owners need, but you're also sharing that if you are someone looking for a career or looking for a new job, that's also what you need. So I just thought all of that overlap was just so amazing. So I know we are over time. You're welcome. I know we are over time. But before we go ahead and end, I want to know from you, and the viewers want to know as well, for those who are listening and they're inspired by your story, they're inspired by what you do, how can they work with you?
Yes. Oh, thank you very much for that. And actually, I put the right here. There it is.
Yep.
Job stickers. So anybody who sees that, please visit. That's my landing page that will open you up to all my links. So if you go on there, you'll see, if you want to read my blog, there's a link. If you want to go to my website, check out my services, my videos. But yeah, jobstickers.com, like pot stickers, job stickers. And I did that because no one's going to remember MJW careers when I would do these. I thought of this way back when. So I've been doing this for a while, the job stickers part. But yeah, and essentially for me, I can help with the least amount, which is the necessary evil, the resume, right? Everyone comes to me going, I need a resume. It's kind of like, and most are that. Maybe they are a good job hunter, quote unquote, and they just have a network that carries them and they just need constantly just have an updated thing. I can help you with that, kind of hands off. Or, hey, Matt, I've been crying all night. We got to do this together. And I might be a little, beat up, if you will, coming to you, emotional or distressed. And we can kid glove that and make it very much a pragmatic, well thought out, structured plan for you, so it doesn't overwhelm you. I always like to say I overwhelm you with my what was it? Oh, I used to say this during my pitches. Overwhelm you with the results. Wait, underwhelm you with the process. Overwhelm you with the results.
Yes.
Because it can be overwhelming with all the different aspects of job hunting. So that's kind of my mantra with that too. So, but yeah, job stickers. I'd love to help anybody who's out there who needs it.
Awesome. And I dropped his link in the chat if you all wanted to get access to it. I put it on Instagram as well. So if you want to copy and paste it, it'll also be in the caption. It's just best to grab it now, being the fact that you're all inside the chat. But Matt, we just want to thank you so much for sharing with us today. Your journey is amazing and it's so real. So thank you for being real with us. Thank you for showing us how you help people who are looking for new jobs, how you help them to accomplish that. And one thing that you shared that I thought was like really, really powerful, and you even just ended with it too, you were very much focused on the results that people could create, as opposed to just being very general like these are all the ways that I did this job. It's more like, what's the result that you created when you were doing this job? And I feel like that helps people to really look within themselves and see how they are truly adding value wherever they go. It looks like we have moved from a society of like, you just work at this job until you die.
Right.
And now it's more so you work at this job and you add value to this job. You work at this job and you can actually see how you yourself is playing a big role. Because if you don't know how you play a big role at that job, it's going to be extremely hard to write that resume and talk on that
Mhm.
interview. And that was the thing that I walked away with. And I hope that others are able to catch some more gems. So thank you so much for sharing your journey. Any final words before we go ahead and wrap up?
I always end with this: be nice to recruiters and hiring managers. They're just trying to do their job. It's costly, it's time consuming, it gets messy. A lot of people don't stick around once they do get inducted and they got to go do this all over again. So be kind. We're trying. We are doing God's work, I believe. I tell people I'm in the human services business. I'm not in HR. I'm helping human lives. And I believe recruiters are doing the same thing, even if they sound like they're hounding or they're ghosting you or whatever. They're talking to 1,000 of yous all the time, and they're trying to keep their head on straight too. So be kind to those recruiters.
I love that. He's like, I'm in the business of doing what God is telling us to do. Like, we're helping people. And
Yeah,
honestly, recruiters really are. I used to work at a staffing agency, not as
yeah,
a recruiter. I was a project manager, but
yeah.
my best friends, they were recruiters. And all they're trying to do is help you make money.
That's
That's
it.
it. They're
I
trying to
mean,
help you get your dream job and help you make money. Just
you
listen to
know,
the recruiter.
yeah, we got to put you through the ringer too, because the people before you ruined it and didn't show up to
That
day
part.
one. So now we got to do this stuff, right? So they're not doing this to be mean. They're just because they don't want to get burned all the time. Because humans are humans. We get lazy, we get funny, we stop showing up places, and it's like, oh. So yeah, I'm glad you can see it and you empathize with them, and I'm sure they're still loving recruiting and still having those emotional roller coasters like I used to have.
Yes, exactly. That part.
Oh,
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Matt. You have been such a pleasure. Thank you for all of you who are tuning in. We have people who are just now jumping on. You can catch the replay. It'll be on Instagram, YouTube, as well as LinkedIn. And of course, oh no, tomorrow we don't have an episode, but on Wednesday we'll be back with another episode. Our goal is to make sure that we are sharing some wisdom that's going to help to lead to wealth. You all have a wonderful day.